Hey y'all, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, today I'm going to do a little something different that I normally don't do. And this is for anybody that gets into tournaments or something like that. It's called it if you're a boater, you don't have to worry about this, but as a co-angler, it's co-angler etiquette 101. Okay. Sorry about the wind and the noise and everything else. But here we go with co-angler etiquette. The first thing you want to know, as a co-angler, you pretty much got to pack everything that you own as far as tackle in your tackle bag. Now, some guys that own boats, they don't like seeing these big tackle bags, but you can get a smaller one if you got a boat to practice with. Now, my boat currently is not registered for the state of Oklahoma, nor do I have gas or it's completely charged. The batteries are completely charged, so I'm not going to practice, so I got to take everything with me. But the one good thing about that is I simplified a big box. Now I'm going to open up mine and show you a little bit what I have inside of it that simplified it. First and foremost, Lure Lock's one of my sponsors, so right here I've got all my hooks, my weights, everything else inside this Lure Lock. That simplifies it without having to have a bunch of different boxes inside there. So box number one. Box number two, I have all my swim baits, including my A-rig and other swim bait hooks right here. So this simplifies it as well. So that's my second box. My third one, I have all my jigs, my spinner baits, my chatter baits are all in another little box. So that simplifies that, not having to have, when I have the boat, I have them in different storage trays. My spinner baits, buzz baits, jigs, etc. It's in a different one. The third one, here we go. I've got a big lure lock right here. This is a 3-in-1 or a 4-in-1, and it has different trays to it. So in this tray, I have beat divers and my jerk baits. The second tray, I have a lot of my top water stuff, between frogs, whompers, duck, a fish, stuff like that. Spooks, big spooks. And then on the third end, I got a few more really deep divers, swim baits, glide baits, and more top water. So that simplifies that. That helps. That helps a whole lot out there. And plus, it keeps you from fumbling around with a bunch of stuff. Granted, you got to tear almost your complete tackle box out in order to do it. Third one is the same thing, another 3-in-1. In here, I have my lipless crankbaits, my square bills, and my medium divers in the same type box. That always goes right down there at the bottom because these are heavier than the ones on top. Put that down in there. Here we go. Okay. That simplifies everything else. You're going to have calling clips. Now, any more of the calling clips, they don't want you to use the piercing kind, so you have to use the non-piercing kind. I have 3 of them in my boat. In the ABA and the Bassmaster Open, co-anglers are only allowed to catch 3 fish at a time. So that's pretty much it. A little bit later, I'm going to go grab my call clips. I have non-piercing call clips. In this pocket that you see in front of me right here, I do a little bit of something different. In the first one, I have an extra drop shot bait, but I have a mask and my gloves. That goes in this pocket right here. I put it there for a reason. In this pocket here, this one's a completely different pocket. Usually, I'll carry my P-line in it and an extra reel, because you never know if you're going to have a reel malfunction. So I keep at least one extra reel. That's a Lose 5-4-1. Granted, it's a slow gear ratio, but if I go to tie on a deep diver on one of my rods, I've got it made. And I'm just going to move this over here to the other side. On the other side right here, this is where I keep all my soft plastics. Right here is like my worms and a few of my drop shot rigs. So that goes right there. This is mostly my worms. This pocket right here, this top pocket, this is all my creature baits. This is between my crawls, bandito bugs, what type of creature you can think of. Now in the front, you want to keep your, if you don't want to leave them on your head or have a strap when you're traveling, you can have an extra pair of sunglasses put right here. This is always a good thing. In the front, I have my pliers right here, and then I have some different scents, shad as well as crawfish. And then in the big pocket up here, I always keep my scale. Gotta have a scale, so that just in case your boater doesn't have one, you can scale it and find out how much total weight you have. A pair of split ring pliers, because you never know, you might bend a treble hook while you're out there on using a crankbait or something like that, or one of your jerk baits. You'll bend a treble hook, you need to change that treble hook, so split rings are real handy. Have some dip. Usually I'll have red or chartreuse or blue. I've got to get some more. I've only got red left. I got a pair of clips right here. Let me take these off. I have a pair of clips. These are for my braided line, so that's what that's for. I don't have nothing in this pocket except, O-rings. You never know, for your worms. Bare essentials that you need, especially if you're fishing in the summertime. Sunblock. This is SPF 50. You need that when you're out on the water. That is a must. The O-rings I was talking about for your wacky worms on your Senkos, as well as if you're going to wacky rig a finesse style worm. And that's what that's for. One good thing you're definitely going to need, especially out there during the heat and summer and you're burning off a lot of energy, is some sort of, electrolyte mix. This will give you back your energy that you're losing, because really and truthfully, for the whole entire time, you don't want to eat a big meal. You might snack a little bit. Peanut butter crackers is a good snack. Beef jerky is really good. It gives you energy and protein at the same time. But this will replace all the others that you have there. So this is a good thing. I got this at Dollar Tree. It was $1.25 for 2 of them. So I got one for this tournament or the next tournament. It's not that bad. And a must that all co-anglers must have, just in case the boater doesn't have it, or your guy that's running the boat doesn't have it, is a first aid kit. In this first aid kit, I got band-aids in here. I've got insect repellent, because, summertime mosquitoes, stuff like that, come out and bite you, you want to put insect repellent on. I've got 2 ibuprofens and 2 Tylenols in here, just in case you get a headache or something like that, or if you pull a muscle while you're out there fishing, that ibuprofen's going to help. Bandages, everything else, fingers get stuck. So that's a must for you co-anglers. As a co-angler, you must really need a lot of that. But that's pretty much. And then I got another spot for another pair of pliers if I want to put them in there. 9 times out of 10 I don't. But that's it for the bag. And like I say, some of your boaters out there does not want you to have this big bag. But you don't have the luxury of having everything in the front of a boat. You're back there in the back, so you got to have everything that you're going to need on that water that day. The next one refers to your sunglasses. Now here in Oklahoma, a lot of the lakes aren't clear, so green lenses ain't going to be really good for you, because green is good for clear lenses, allows you to see depth. Down here, over here in Oklahoma, we have kind of murky water, so your blues and your reds come in real good for these types of water, and you'll be able to see at depth. The next thing you want to do is your rods. All your rods right here. Now for me, I usually have 4 bait casting rods and reels and 1 spinning rod. Some guys will have, you know, 5 bait casting rods and a spinning reel. The rule of thumb on being a co-angler in any of the, the Bassmaster, the Toyota series, the ABAs, is to minimize your rods. You don't want to bring, 10 or 15 rods. That's going to waste space, and it's probably going to make that guy that owns that boat kind of mad, because you're bringing all these rods. So the rule of thumb when it comes to a co-angler is usually 5 to 6 rods. That's it. That's all you really want to bring to these tournaments. And I've always done that. I've always brought only 5 rods. Sometimes I'll bring 6, depending on what lake I'm at. But 9 times out of 10, I have 5 rods. Now the rods I have, and we went over it, the different sizes. I've got from a 7.5 all the way down to a 6.9. 6.9 being my spinning rod, which is a medium action rod. The 7.5 is a heavy action rod. I have a 7.3, that's a heavy action rod. I have a 7-foot heavy action rod and a 7-foot medium heavy rod. That's my rods that I use. My gear ratios are from 7.5 all the way down to that 5.4, in that range. My spinning rod is a 5.2 to 1. I have a 6.8 to 1, a 6.4 to 1, a 7.1 to 1, and a 7.5 to 1. And that's the gear ratios I use. My line, what I use, sometimes I'll use fluorocarbon, but not very often. I usually use the CX21 monofilament and the CXX, and that's all from P-Line. I do have 10-pound P-Line X-sprayed on my spinning reel, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes I use a fluorocarbon leader, sometimes I don't, and that's the only time I use a leader. There is another thing that I do have in here that's set up, but I think I'm going to have to redo them. And inside this little can, I know it's a Longhorn can, I'm going to change the lid so that way it's different. But what I have in here is Carolina rigs that are already set up, ready to go. All I got to do is put the weights, time on it, and get ready to go. But that's for my Carolina rigs. And that's a good thing to have them pre-set up. They do have fluorocarbon on there. They got 17-pound fluorocarbon line on it. Tack line at that from P-Line. So that's that. But yeah, that's co-angler etiquette 101 for those that are getting into it. That's the setup. Okay, when it comes to the actual tournament day, on a rare occasion, your boater or the guy that owns the boat is going to ask you for a little bit of pitch in for gas money. The rule of thumb used to be about 20 bucks, but with fuel prices this day, looking at maybe 30 at the most. If you offer them fuel, 9 times out of 10, a lot of them are going to say, no, I've got it covered. Because the one thing you got to remember as a co-angler, you have no say where you're going in that boat. That boater is not going to turn around and look at you and say, okay, where do you want to go? A lot of them don't do that because they've already practiced what they're going to fish. They've probably already got on fish. They're going to go to their spots. So you're basically fishing their spots. And that's pretty much it. All you're doing is really just going for a ride and then going fishing for 8 hours. Yeah, you're not competing. And here's another one is a lot of guys get this all confused, especially with a co-angler. You're not competing with the guy in front of you. You're not competing against the dude in front that owns his boat. You're not competing against him. You're competing against everybody else that is in the back of the boat. A co-angler, you're competing against them. You're not competing against that boater, ever. You got to remember that. You're not competing against them. You're competing against the other people that are co-anglers. That's it. So don't make it a competition in that boat. That's where it's going to screw you up, and that's where it's going to add pressure to you. Another thing, and I've seen this a lot of times. It's happened to me in the BFLs when I fished as a boater. There is a boundary that's on the boat, a boundary out in the water where you're fishing at. There's a boundary that you should never ever pass, and a lot of these guys actually do it. A lot of co-anglers do it. It's ticked me off. It's ticked other boaters that I know off about this. Okay, from the console forward is usually the boater's domain, and that's all the way around in a big, 360-degree radius, all the way, or 180-degree, not 360, because that's a full circle. But at 180 degrees around that boat, from the front console forward. In other words, the front deck and all that. That's the boater's domain. Now, if you're fishing solo, that's a different story. The whole boat is your playing ground, but that's the rule of thumb. From the console back, that is the co-angler's area. And I've seen boaters actually cast behind them in the co-angler area, and I think that's kind of wrong myself. I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That's not fair to the co-angler. But, and like I say, I've seen co-anglers do this, cast in front of the boater. Unless you get permission from that boater to cast up there. Okay? That's a different story. If the boater says, yeah, go ahead and cast up in front of me, I'm not really giving you a whole lot of area. Go ahead, this ain't got a real good hole. Go ahead and cast up here, see if you can't land something. A lot of times they'll do that. They're real nice. I've been with several few that have done that before, and I've caught a 3-pound bass out of it. Because of it, I was able to actually catch a fish, and I thank my boater for that, for giving me the opportunity to do that. Because he was running along the shoreline, and it's not, you're casting out behind the boater all the time. You're casting behind the boat constantly, and a lot of times, the boater already knows that the fish are spooked, so therefore you're not really going to be able to do worth a flip with it. But unless the boater tells you, okay, you can cast in front. And like I said, I've had this happen to me where I've had a co-angler, and I've repeatedly told him not to cast in front of me, and yet he kept doing it. About the 5th time he did that is when I got a little deterred, and I backboated him. I went into a cove, and I pulled in directly straight in front to where he can only fish behind me and he couldn't fish in front of me. I did that once. I regretted doing that. Believe me, I hated doing that. I didn't want to do that, but after 5 times of him casting in front of me, I had enough. And I started out as a co-angler, so I know these etiquettes real well. And that leads into the deal of being backboated, or not even given the opportunity to fish. When you go in to do your weigh-ins, they got a chart down there with everybody's name and the guy that you're paired with. 9 times out of 10, you have to initial next to his name, and he has to initial next to your name. Well, if you got grievances with that boater for that day, say like he backboated you, made it to where you couldn't really catch a fish that whole entire day, you spent the money to get in that tournament. You should be able to fish. If that boater's cheating you out of that opportunity, do not sign your initials next to that boater's name. That is a formal protest for that boater. Means he'll be able to weigh in his fish and everything else. You won't be able to, but at the end of the tournament director, you will come up to you and talk to you about it, and then he'll get the boater's side of it. 9 times out of 10, the boater's going to get disqualified for it. His fish that he weighed in, he'll get a big fat 0 from it because he didn't give you the opportunity to fish. That's one option that you do have. Now, if you intentionally screwed up and do that, that's on you. That means you push that boater to the point of breaking. And there's no fun there at all. You're going to be backboated the rest of the day if you do that. That's just a few other things. Okay, as far as the money goes for tournaments, usually a co-angler pays less than what the boater does. Most of your boaters are paying $210. You're paying half of what the boater is, especially in the ABAs. I don't know what it is for the MLF because I'm not dealing with them, and I know what it is for the Bassmaster tournaments. But pretty much that's it. So you're paying half of what that is. Like for me, I paid $105. You can pay another $110 if you want to sign up for big bass. I don't see me catching a big bass, so that's a little bit of waste of money. You know, we covered the fuel, we covered everything else. A few other things that we can go over that would be good etiquette on here. Say like, for my example, I don't have my boat. You can get a pretty little general idea of what the fish are biting on. Ask your boater, you know, go up to him and says, you got any idea? I didn't get to practice the lake or anything like that. Do you have a general idea of what type of lure I should tie on? And 9 times out of 10 they'll tell you. They won't tell you the color, but they'll tell you exactly what they were using. You know, they could have been using a lipless crankbait. They could have been using a spinnerbait. They could have been using a jerkbait, you know, stuff like that. That gives you an inkling of exactly what to use that day of tournament. And you can go in and tie everything on and get ready. It might not be the right color, but then again, it could be the right color. You never know. So I hope that actually helps a lot of y'all that wants to get into fishing, that wants to do, you know, fishing. And the biggest key thing that I want to point off here, there are good sides and there are bad sides to being a co-angler. The good side about it is you get to learn the lakes, learn new techniques. You know, being as a co-angler, you know, especially in new bodies of water, you don't know nothing about it. Going to them and learning the tricks, learning the bites, learning everything, that's a good thing as a co-angler. The bad side about it is like I said, you have nowhere, you don't know where you're going to go. You could go out and practice somewhere and that boater's gone to a completely different spot. So you really don't know. I hope this actually helps you out. Do me a favor, hit the like button. The like button actually gets this video out to more people than what you really think. So the more the likes, the better. Comment down there if I forgot anything as a co-angler etiquette on this one. Comment down on that one. Let me know if there's more that needs to be talked about. Oh, before I forget, even co-angler, on the co-angler side, clean up after yourself. Make sure if you got water bottles, carry a little trash bag. I will carry a little trash bag in one of my pouches right here and take my trash with me. Don't leave anything behind on the boater's boat. It makes you look bad and it'll tick him off or her off. You know, it'll make them mad. But clean up after yourself, that is a good one. But like I said, remember to like this video. More likes you get, more likes I get, the more people will be able to see these videos. It'll push it out further. Believe it or not, it does. Comment, share the video. Even sharing this video will push it out even further. It really helps me. Subscribe. The more you share, the more subscribers I get, the better my channel grows, and I want this to grow. And above all, hit the bell notification for every time I post. And until the next time, y'all have a good day, good evening, a good night, and the way the things are looking, we're going to get rain, so y'all be safe. And for those that are going to be affected by thunderstorms and stuff like this tonight and tomorrow, y'all be safe. Seek shelter when you need it. And above all, I'll see you next time. Bye.